To gain access to the core of the pump is also simple. First, ensure the electricity supply is off, as you are about to expose mains cables. Undo and remove the nuts and bolts in each corner of the casting, making sure you keep them safely to one side. If the case doesn't separate easily, and it might not, there is a slot designed into one corner specifically to assist you in opening the case. Just slide a flat-bladed screwdriver into the slot and use it to help prise the top up. You should now be able to carefully lift the top casting away from the base, tipping it backwards so you don't pull on the cables too much. Lift off the ring of acoustic padding and set it aside. There is a cable, or depending on the model of pump there might be more than one cable, so if you wish, slide the mains cable free of the lid so you can get better access to the base. Undo the 4 Phillips screws holding the cover to the core unit. You now have access to the drive unit. From here we can now go on to service various internal parts of the pump. It's worth mentioning that some of the larger EL pumps do not have this cover to help with internal cooling. So if you don't see it, it's not been forgotten, it's not there for a reason. Before we move forward, it's probably a good idea to pause for a moment and just highlight the various parts which we can now see exposed within the unit. The drive units sit either side of a magnet. Now from this angle the magnet's not so easy to see, as sitting right above it is an autostopper switch. The autostopper switch activates if the pump becomes unbalanced. The most common cause of such an imbalance is if a diaphragm splits. Each end of the magnet is bolted to the centre of a diaphragm, and this diaphragm sits within a valve box. These 2 pipes take the air produced by the diaphragms down and out of the pump, and ultimately down through your pipework to the place you need the air. One of the most common maintenance procedures you are likely to have to undertake is to replace a torn diaphragm. These discs operate very fast for thousands of hours a year and are naturally subject, eventually, to material fatigue. To get to the diaphragms, we need to remove the valve boxes and take the diaphragms off the ends of the magnet which actually moves them. Starting one side, remove the 4 screws and washers retaining the valve box, putting them safely to one side. Slacken the clip on the pipe and pull off the valve box, exposing the diaphragm. Take a spanner of the correct size, one like this is perfect, and undo the retaining nut from the centre of the diaphragm. Slide the diaphragm off the magnet's threaded bolt and then repeat the other side. As you pull the second diaphragm out, it will bring with it the magnet. If this is what you want to replace, take the diaphragm off the end of the magnet to release the second diaphragm.
Gaining access to the filter compartment of a Secoh pump is a very simple process. Simply undo the single Phillips screw located centrally on the top cover and pull firmly up on the cover. It might take a bit of pulling as they are firmly clipped down, but once up, the filter compartment is visible. Pull out the filter. It's a good idea to do this once every 3 months or so. The filter should be dry, and the only dirt on it should therefore be dry dust, or maybe a spider or 2. If there are any signs of honey-like residue, this is a sure sign of foul air getting into the pump, and this needs to be investigated quickly, as foul air will corrode the internal electrics and will wreck your pump. Damage caused by foul air or flooding isn't covered by the warranties, so it's best to fix the cause of the problem as fast as you can. A few tips here. Do you notice the 2 inlet holes? Because the filter is square, you can extend its life by rotating it 90 degrees. To place the clean corners over the inlet holes, it can be washed in soapy water, but ensure it's bone dry. Maybe leave overnight in the airing cupboard before reinstalling it. It should be really replaced every 12 to 18 months.
The final stage in any service is to put the pump back together again. Check that it starts okay, and then put it back into your installation. Slide the magnet back into place between the 2 drive units in the centre of the core. Try to make sure that the magnet is as central as possible. If you have the spacers, which come within the service kit, this will make your life quite a bit easier, but you still may need to use a flat-bladed screwdriver to gently coax the magnets to align centrally. These magnets are pretty strong, so you don't catch your fingers, and avoid wearing watches or get them close to anything that might be badly affected by a strong magnetic field. Attach the first diaphragm onto the threaded end of the magnet, making sure that it's aligned correctly. Note the opening here, which matches up with the same feature on the casting. Take a firm grip on the valve box and screw all 4 Phillips screws back in to fix the valve box in place. Then reattach the pipe with its spring clip. Another tip here, slide the clip around so it points downwards. It may not seem like a big thing, but it will keep the clip well away from the external casing. This will avoid it buzzing against the casing when the pump is completely reassembled and started back up. Repeat exactly the same procedure for the other end of the pump. Remove the spacers. It's useful to keep the spacers from the service kits for future repairs, as they aren't available separately. You'll need to make sure that the auto stopper switch is centralized. Actually, it might already be okay, but it's worth just checking. The switch can be pretty stiff, so if it doesn't centralize by finger pressure alone, you might want to ease it over with a flat-bladed screwdriver. If it's not centralized, when you reinstate the power supply to the pump, it will not restart. Now replace the internal core's top back down onto the core casing, assuming your pump had one to begin with. Replace the acoustic padding and ensure the mains cable is reinserted into the top casing as shown here. Now lift the top casing back into place, ensuring that you've not trapped any cables, and replacing the nut, washer and bolt back in each corner of the casing. And you're done. Check the pump starts. If it doesn't, you'll need to take the power supply back off and go back a few steps to gain access to that auto stopper switch, as it's quite likely to be the culprit if the pump doesn't restart.